In the last part, I showed you how to do the pinwheel, which is right here. So now we're going to move towards the caterpillar stitch. These are my names. They're just kind of goofy names, but here is the pinwheel we learned last time, and now we are going to do the caterpillar stitch. And you'll have your focal bead that you've got stitched down or glued down, depending if it has a hole. And we have these ones stitched down, so there was no glue involved. And I've cut a piece of cup chain long enough to go all the way around my focal bead. So we're going to go in and we're going to couch down over the bands of the cup chain. So at first this can be kind of awkward until you get a couple stitches down. That's normal. And just make sure that you get your thread to go over the band. You don't want it to go over the little prongs of the cup chain on top of the rhinestones, because you'll be able to see it. So there's one couch, another couch. And sometimes you can go through this 2 or 3 times to couch them down to really stabilize them. And I've been known to do that too. If it starts to twist a little bit like this on you, just flip it over and give it another couch, especially on the first 1 and 2. Like I said before, I'm not afraid to use thread. And I want to make sure that it's tucked pretty darn close to my little focal bead there. Okay, there we go. Now go to the next one. And if your thread comes on the outside of your cup chain band, that's okay. There's no rule to that, just as long as you couch over the top of it. See how easy that is just to couch down those little bands? And with this being so much larger cup chain, it doesn't take very much to go around it. Okay, so we've gone all the way around with our couching over the top of the bands. Now there's not a band at the end where you cut it, so don't worry about that. See how it kind of spreads out a little bit? It's going to be okay because we're going to put something up against that. But this one's a little loosey-goosey for me right here. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to put another couch down close to the one part side of the rhinestone. There we go. See, that tightened it up. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like once you get it all couched down around. Now we're going to go in and we're going to come up just a little ways away, not too far, because we're going to add these beautiful 4mm crystal pearls on here. So with this, we need to pick up our crystal pearls. We need to find the holes. And I do more than 3 on this when I go back to couching them. So I'll lay quite a few of these down first. I don't do it 3 at a time. I find that they just lay a little bit better because they're a bigger bead. So again, make sure you lay your thread down with your beads on top, like this. And at the end of your crystal pearls, I want you to go down through your stiff stuff. Just like that. So instead of coming back right to here to start couching, I come back here to about the middle. And that kind of holds and secures it so I can come back here and couch these down. So this is about the middle here. I come next to my cup chain. Give it a nice pull so it's nice and tug, and then I go over the top of my crystal pearls in between them. Just like we did on our seed beads, just the basic couching, just like over the cup chain. We're going to come back and couch this side. I like to do longer strips of this because it seems to curl a lot better than just doing 3 at a time when it comes to these larger beads. So I've done this half here. So I'm going to come up at the end of that and I'm going to pass through the 4 beads I just couched down. Then I'm going to go back down through my material. And then I'm going to come up and couch these ones down. And once I get these all couched down, I'll go through those 4 or 5 that I'm couching down and get ready for my next set. So you're going to do that all the way around. Just follow the same concept. So these are couched down. I do them in little groups. You can do 4, 5, 6, whatever feels comfortable to you, depending on how big your cabochon is or your focal bead. So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to run through these 4 that I just couched down. So then I'll add another 4 or 5 beads. See, isn't that pretty how that just goes together like that? So let's string on another 4 or 5. Well, let's go for 6 this time, because it's what's on my tray. Another important thing, slide them all the way down. It's hard to be a guessing game. At the end of all those beads, take your needle and thread and go down through your foundation. And then again, you're going to couch these all down. Couch. Look how much faster it goes when you're using bigger beads too. It's not like the seed beads, but it sure gives it great texture and a different look. And I like using all different sizes of beads. Okay, I'm at the end of all my couching. There's that little knotty knot. You got to be careful. Don't pull it too tight. There we go. And if you can't find your hole, don't be afraid to just bend your material a little bit. It's okay. It's not going to hurt it. Pass through as many as you can, then pass through the remaining. Okay, let me get a few more crystals here. I just love using crystal pearls. I love the weight of them, the look of them. And to think they're actually crystal is pretty cool. And it looks like that was just a perfect amount right there. So on this one, with it being a perfect amount like that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and thread and I'm going to pass through this very first one, and that will connect all of them together. There won't be any gap there. And then remembering I have to come back and couch in between each one of these. Over the top. I've couched so many beads in my life, I imagine I could probably do this with my eyes closed. People often ask me why I couch these beads, every one of them. And if you feel my work and see my work, you can see how straight it is, and it's really strong. I can't emphasize how strong it is. It doesn't move, and I work so much off of my base pieces that it's really important that it is strong. It's like setting a great foundation for life. You just need to have a strong foundation, and then you can grow from there. Okay, we're all done with that. Isn't that beautiful? And now what we're going to do on the next step is we're going to come up and go over the top. 5, 6, 7. And your thread is coming up right next to your cup chain. And what this is going to do is going to fill in these little areas where you can see your lazy stiff stuff. So you're going to slide these beads all the way down to the end of your thread. And I just unthreaded my needles. So let me thread that back up real quick. And you're going to go down on the other side of the crystal pearl. And what this does is it does a little bridge over it and gives you this really nice effect. So now you're going to come up next to the next one here. And I like to use odd beads because if you use the even and out, you'll see your thread. The odd bead is a little point bead. 6, 7, and down. And stay as close as you can to your crystal pearl on the outside as well. So we're going to continue doing this all the way around. So 7 beads. And down. Isn't that a fun look? It totally changes the design, doesn't it? Come up, 7 beads. Now if your beads are a little bit bigger, you might have to do like a 9 bead count. 2, 4, 6, 7. And then down. So you're going to continue this process all the way around. So see what a beautiful stitch that is. It gives it a whole different look. So now we're going to flip it over and I'm going to show you how to tie off. So if you take just a little bite of your beading foundation, leave a little loop there, go through it once, and then turn around and go back through it one other time. That is what they call a surgeon's knot. Give it a nice little tug, and then just take your thread and needle and run through it. A little bit more there to pull that knot in. Take your scissors and just give it a little cut. And now we have completed part of the caterpillar. Next we'll be adding cup chain around our caterpillar part that we just added the size 15 beads over the pearls. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of cup chain to fit around, and we're going to couch this down. So in the previous videos that you've seen on how to couch this, let's walk through it one more time. So I have a new thread that I tied on next to my crystal pearl, and then we're going to go over the top of that band. And remember what I mentioned on the last one too, this cup chain can kind of be a bit fussy at the beginning, just for the fact that you've got to get a few stitches in there to get it held on. And then you just go over the top of the band, in between each rhinestone. I've got a little tail back here that I want to cut off. And then just lay it down. Do a few stitches here. And just be careful that you're going right over the band and you're not getting caught in the little prongs of the rhinestones, because you will be able to see your thread that way. Okay, we'll be back in just a minute and I'll get this finished off. I'm just finishing up the couching part of over the bands of our rhinestone cup chain. And isn't this easy? And it gives it such a nice little bling, adds a little bit more texture to it, more to your design. Cup chain is really fun to use in anything. You can make it curl around things, weave it around. I really enjoy using it. So there I'm doing my final stitch. It goes right over the top of the band. Now this might be a little loose right here. So I always like to put at least 2 stitches on the very end one. Since there's not a band in between this one and this one, it kind of helps to stabilize it. Okay, and that completes the cup chain. So now we're going to go ahead and add one more row of size 11 seed beads. So our finished product looks just like this. So we've done the black lip cabochon, the heavy 6mm cup chain, the crystal pearls with the little caterpillar over it. We just completed the cup chain here, and now our next step is going to be to do the outline of the size 11. This gives it a really nice finish look, and it'll work really well when we go to our components of putting them all together. We're going to take that off. So that's where we're headed now. So as you remember, we do couching. We pick up 3 seed beads. We slide them all the way down to the end of our thread. And everybody beads a different way. Some people might bead up or some people might bead down. I tend to bead down. It works better for me, but whatever rhythm works for you, there's no special rule to it. So remember to slide all 3 of your beads straight down. Go down at the end of your 3rd bead Make sure your thread doesn't get, now see how this is kind of couched up a little bit? I mean, it's kind of got a little bump to it. You can straighten that out, but and I'll show you how to do that. So come up on one side of the bead and couch over the top. Remember we did the little bridges. And then we're going to do this one too. So this is a great little refresher from our first series. Come up in the front of the first bead that you put on and slide through it. This is the beauty of couching too, is because you have more control. See how much more that straightened that right out? So now we're going to pick up 3 more beads, slide them all the way down. And at the end of those 3 beads, go down through your foundation. And we're going to go up between number 1 and 2 bead we just put on. And like I mentioned before too, it doesn't matter if you go on the outside or the inside. Meaning you can go on the inside by the cup chain or you can go on the outside. It doesn't matter, just as long as you go over with your bridge. I kind of just let my needle tell me where it wants to go. And then to straighten this up a little bit, we're going to go back to the 4th bead. So we're going to continue to bead all the way around this. Now, if you feel like you want to add more than 3 beads, you've got this down, you can add as many beads as you want on there. I just teach in 3s, but if you feel more comfortable adding 5, 7, 9, whatever it works for you, it doesn't even have to be odd. Just make sure that you slide them all the way down. And then remember where you started, and then you have to go back and couch every one of those beads down. And like I mentioned before, most people backstitch or couch every other bead. Some would couch every other bead. I like to couch every single bead just for the fact that it just stabilizes it so much. And if it ever was to get snagged, it's not going to unravel like a backstitch. So this is a little bit longer one. And that's okay. Like I say, I just teach in 3s. And learning this couching too, you know, you can use any kind of beads that you want to, whether it be the size 11, the size 15, the cup chain, the crystal pearls. You can use drucks, you can use rondelles, pearls, and you know, you can use any color you want. It's fun to mix up the colors as well. The reason I have chose this palette is because Fire Mountain Gems has this beautiful palette of all this black lip. And this is going to be in the projects that are coming up, all these beautiful flowers. They had all these black lip little disc in 3 different sizes, which they carry. That's why I chose this palette. They have different sizes of the cup chain and all the different things that we're going to be using for making a bracelet, a pin back, a pendant, and that'll be coming up on the next video. So just continue doing your little couching all the way around. And it's really important that you remember, take your needle and go straight down. Don't go at an angle because that's going to make it want to curl. So if you can be aware, or just be careful. Just learn from my mistakes and my years of doing this. Okay, we'll be right back. So I have room for 3 more, and I wanted to show you this. Putting 3 more beads on. So I've completed my full circle. So it's always a good idea to go through at least 1 or 2 of these beads, possibly 3 when you're connecting your full circle there. And then go down through your beading foundation. And then come back up and couch between the 3 that you just put on. And as soon as I'm done couching this, then we'll tie off on the back. Get ready to embellish and show you some finishing techniques. Okay, now we're going to tie off with that surgeon's knot like I did before. A loop, go through once, go through twice, and then take a little bite. And then cut off your thread. Okay, now we have completed the caterpillar one. So we're going to make this into a little brooch right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your pair of scissors and we're going to cut away all this foundation. We're going to cut as close as we possibly can to our beadwork without cutting our beadwork. And remember what I said before, you want your needle to go up and straight down and not too far out so you don't cut your stitches. So go ahead and cut, and if you keep your scissors at a little bit of an angle here, it kind of gets in there just a little bit closer. This is where a lot of people get really afraid to do, is to cut around their beadwork. If you do cut a thread, you can always tie on another thread and go in and couch them down, run through, and it's not going to unravel on you. Okay, so now I've cut all the excess beading foundation. Isn't that cute? And look I just had this sitting here. This would actually make a really cute pendant too. Add another one of these and you could make a long chain type thing out of this. So you just never know where you're going to go with these, especially when you're making little components. You can add them all together. You could do something like this. There's all kinds of things you could do, but we'll stay focused here, Jody. Okay, so now we're going to add some texture to this piece. And I've got a little black lip carved shell here that I think are so pretty, and it's amazing to me that these are all hand carved. So I've got another knotted thread here, and I am going to come up between the cup chain, and the pearl in between them, and I'm going to add on this little flower. And then we need a little stopper bead to hold that on there. So I'm going to choose the black here. And a stopper bead is just literally a stopper bead. You put it on and then you go back through the flower, leaving that little guy behind, and it just stops it. Now to really stabilize this, I like to go through it 2 or 3 times. So this can kind of be the trick in order to get it back through. But if you flip it over and see where your thread's coming out, that gives you a really good gauge to go back into it. So there's 1, there's 2. And again, if you flip it around, you can kind of see where you started there and coming out. And there's 3. So let's get through the 3rd one here. And now it's stabilized, more so than it was with just 1. And that's how that looks. So then to add a little bit more texture in it, I'm going to come up just underneath it here, right around the crystal pearl. And I am going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is just kind of a design thing, however you feel you want your little spinies to go out. And that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to add 5 of those, and I'm going to add a crystal, and then I'm going to add a little white size 15 as my stopper bead. So in this, I'm going to leave this as my little stopper here, and then I'm going to run through the crystal and all 5 of those seed beads. And that gives it a little fringe that's coming out, kind of a little bit more texture. And again, I would run through these 2 to 3 times. So if you look back here, it'll kind of give you a guide. There we go. A lot of people feel like they need to use Fireline for all their crystals. You know, I've used crystals in my work for years, and I just go through it 2 or 3 times. And with this 1G thread, it is so strong that I have never had any problems. So 1 just doesn't do it for me. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to add another one. And this time I'm going to add 7, just to give it some staggered length. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, a crystal, and a stopper bead. Slide it all the way down, leaving your white as the stopper. Go through all the seed beads, pull it through. Okay, I'm liking that. So now I'm going to come back up. I'm not going to go through this 2 or 3 times on this. You get the idea of it. So now I want a little bit longer ones. I think I'm going to go 9 on this one. And it doesn't have to be odd. You can do even or odd. It doesn't matter. I always say the beads have a voice, and they'll tell you which ones want to go on and which ones don't. You just have to be willing to listen. Okay. And we're going to go through this. Come on, there we go. Flip it over to where you can see that, make sure that you're going through all those seed beads. Okay, isn't that cute? Now you could keep adding more and more, but I kind of like the simplicity of just the 3. Okay, we'll be back in a minute. I'll get ready to show you how to do the edging part of it, the finishing techniques.